Do you really think you're in control of your life? Not quite. You might control a few things, but most of the time, you're just reacting. You get angry when someone disrespects you. You worry about things that haven't even happened. You feel sad because someone didn't treat you the way you expected. You feel disappointed when the outcome doesn't go your way. But be honest, in all those moments, are you in control or being controlled? There's a hard truth we often avoid. Most of our suffering doesn't come from the world. It comes from how we think about the world. You can't stop someone from insulting you, but you can choose not to let it hurt you. You can't stop the storm, but you can learn to pitch your tent, keep your fire lit, and stand still inside it. That is the spirit of Stoicism. This is not a philosophy for people who want an easy life. It doesn't teach you how to avoid suffering. It teaches you how to suffer without collapsing, how to fall without blaming, how to lose without losing your dignity. Stoicism doesn't make you a fake optimist. It helps you become genuinely unshakable. And if you're still here, still listening, I believe you've seen yourself in one of these moments, when you wake up at night, heart racing, haunted by a past mistake, when you're filled with rage, just from one careless remark, when you whisper to yourself, "Why is everything so hard? What did I do wrong?" That's when you realize you're not being pulled by the world outside. You're being dragged by your own mind. But right there is where the journey begins. Stoicism doesn't come to save you. It doesn't promise you an easy life, but it offers you steady feet to walk through what's not easy. You don't have to change the whole world. Just start with the one thing you can control: yourself. In this video, we'll walk together through the timeless foundations of Stoicism, the stories of Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, and even Nelson Mandela. Over 20 life principles you can apply starting today. And most of all, how to reclaim authorship over your own life. Not through force, but through awareness, intention, and stillness. You don't have to believe me right away, but stay with me for a few minutes. Just listen and feel for yourself, because no one else can make you unshakable. Only you can learn to stand still in the storm. Let me tell you a story. Most of us weren't born weak. We were bold little children, willing to fall, to get hurt, to cry out loud and get back up. But over time, we learned to react the way others expected. We learned to hide our emotions. We learned to please instead of lead. And somewhere along the way, we forgot who we are. We grew up in a world full of conditions. You must succeed before 30. You must make a lot of money to be respected. You must always be cheerful, positive, never vulnerable. You must act properly even when you're falling apart inside. We were taught that sadness should be hidden. That anger is wrong. That feeling helpless is a weakness. So what did we do? We repressed. We pretended. We smiled while quietly drowning. And what happens then? We lose our ability to master our emotions. We forget how to discern what deserves our energy and what doesn't. We let other people's feelings dictate our actions. We react instead of reflect. Why do we lose control? Not because life is too harsh, but because we've forgotten how to steer from within. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." But most of us live the opposite way. We let the world dictate our mood. A message left unread, anxiety, a cold glance, insecurity, a careless comment, anger all day. We hand over control of our inner world to people who don't even know they have it. And the moment we do that, we become a victim of everything. The weather, the news, social media, a stranger's careless words. But Stoicism didn't come to suppress emotion. It came to restore direction. not to turn you into a robot, but to help you feel fully, without being consumed, to respond with clarity without losing yourself. Have you ever been in situations like these? One sentence from someone ruins your entire day. A simple no leaves you sleepless, questioning your worth. One unexpected change makes life feel unfair, makes you feel like a victim. You're not weak. You've just let the outside world write your inner script. But you don't have to keep living like that. Stoicism hands you back the pen. It won't write your story for you, but it reminds you you are the author. And to write your life well, you need to relearn a simple but forgotten skill. Control what you can. Let go of what you can't. Know the difference. Let me give you an image. A person stands before a raging sea. Instead of shouting, blaming, or cursing the waves, he digs his feet deep into the sand, stands firm, and waits for the storm to pass. Not because he's stronger than the waves, but because he stops trying to win against them. He simply chooses not to be swept away. That is the Stoic spirit. You don't need to control everything. You just need to control how you respond. And sometimes, that alone is enough to change everything. There are wounds that no one sees, no breeze, no one asks, no time off to heal, but they gnaw at you from the inside, quietly, persistently, and far more dangerous than any physical scar. Have you ever felt like this? Waking up with a heaviness you can't explain. Going through the motions, working, eating, smiling, but hollow inside. Pretending to be fine. Yet one sincere question could break you. Some days, you don't need anyone to hurt you. Just your own thoughts, looping endlessly, are enough to wear your heart down. Stoicism doesn't judge those emotions. It doesn't tell you, don't be sad, or just be positive. It simply invites you to look into them and ask one essential question: is this truly worth giving control of my mind to? You can feel anger, but must it stay with you all week? You can feel sadness, but must it poison every relationship you're in? You can feel disappointment, but must you let it erase your belief in yourself? That's the Stoic way. Not cold, but conscious. Not detached, but free from being ruled by emotion. Because the scariest thing isn't that you're sad. It's not knowing why you're sad. Stoicism gives us a mirror to look into our own minds. When you feel anxious, ask, what am I expecting that's beyond my control? When you feel pain, ask, what am I clinging to that I was meant to release? When you feel drained, ask, am I trying to become someone I'm not? No one can answer those questions for you, but Stoicism can sit with you while you ask them. Not to escape, not to rationalize, not to self-pity, just to sit, look deeper, and accept. One of the most powerful things Epictetus ever said: it's not what happens that hurts us, it's how we think about what happens. A simple truth, but one that unlocks so many knots we've carried far too long. Because you're not broken because you were rejected. You suffer because you believed you're unworthy. You're not wounded by one harsh word. You're wounded because you believed it was true. You didn't fall because of failure. You fell because you decided it meant you'll never succeed. Stoicism doesn't promise to shield you from pain. It only teaches you not to become a victim of it. Yes, you'll still have hard days. Yes, people will still hurt you. Yes, things will still go wrong. But they won't get to define your worth. They won't puppeteer your emotions. They won't make you lose yourself. Just because the world wasn't kind that day. Now, picture this. A full glass of water. If someone touches it gently, it spills. Not because they pushed hard, but because it was already too full. Stoicism teaches you to pour some out, not to run away, but so there's room for peace. Let me be clear. You have the right to feel everything. but you also have the right to not be ruled by it. And that place, where you can feel deeply and still remain clear, that's what Stoicism calls freedom. Stoicism isn't some theory meant for lecture halls. It's a way of life, forged in war, in prison, in politics, in the most turbulent chapters of human history. It was shaped by people who not only survived, but preserved their dignity, even in places where others lost themselves. Marcus Aurelius, Emperor of Rome, a man with absolute power, who chose simplicity, who reflected each night and wrote his thoughts in meditations. He never let his greatness overshadow his inner responsibility amid wars, betrayal, and loss. Marcus didn't use Stoicism to preach. He used it so he wouldn't break. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Marcus Aurelius, Cato the Younger, a Roman senator, stood against Caesar, knowing it might cost him his life. He chose to live by principle, rather than merely exist. When corruption swallowed the empire, Cato remained a still point in the storm. He once said, "I would rather die for truth than live for a lie." Extreme, perhaps, but it proves what Stoicism always teaches. Inner freedom doesn't come from circumstance. It comes from your moral choices. Nelson Mandela, not a Stoic by philosophy, but a Stoic by spirit, 27 years in prison. Everything taken from him, except one thing, his will. He once said, "I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul." He walked out of prison, not with bitterness, but with an inner freedom no one could take away. The world doesn't remember him just for what he did, but because he lived the Stoic spirit. In modern times, and then, there's you. You don't have to be an emperor. You don't have to be a leader. You don't have to be someone great. You just have to be yourself, in your hardest moment, and still choose not to let go. When you choose not to respond with hurt, even when you've been hurt. When you stay silent, not out of fear, but from calm. When you forgive not because they deserve it, but because you deserve peace. Maybe no one will see it. No one will recognize it. No one will praise you. But in that exact moment, you are living as a Stoic. Remember, Stoicism doesn't ask you to be perfect. It only asks you to be courageously real. In a world addicted to pretending, no shouting, no proving, just steady, honest, kind. And if you're going through a hard time right now, remember what Epictetus said. It's not what happens that harms you. It's how you view it. Change your perspective, and you can change your life. Master your mind, and you can live free, even in chaos. And if you can do that, you won't need anyone to call you a Stoic, because you'll already be one. In the way you live, Stoicism isn't a religion. There are no gods, no dogmas. No one forces you to believe in anything. It begins with one simple question. Are you living according to what you say you believe in? From that alone, Stoicism builds an entire ethical framework, rooted in 4 timeless virtues that every Stoic lives by: wisdom, courage, temperance, justice. Wisdom, not intelligence, not how much you've read, but the ability to see things as they truly are. You're angry. A wise person would ask, will this anger change anything? Am I reacting or reflecting? Am I judging or understanding? Wisdom is knowing what matters and what doesn't, when to speak and when to remain silent, how to practice it. Ask yourself, will this still matter in 5 days, 5 months, or 5 years? Try seeing the problem from 3 views: your emotion, their perspective, and the long-term impact. Courage, not the absence of fear, but moving forward despite it. Are you hesitating to leave a toxic relationship, afraid to change careers, avoiding a truth you already know? A Stoic doesn't say, "I'm not afraid." They say, "I'm afraid, but fear won't run my life." Courage isn't always grand gestures. Sometimes it's just facing your emotions honestly, saying no when needed, choosing the harder path over the comfortable lie. How to practice it? Each day, do one small thing you've been avoiding. Write down 3 fears. Then ask, if I overcame this, what part of me would grow? Temperance, the most misunderstood virtue. Temperance doesn't mean forcing yourself into discomfort. It means knowing what's enough and not being dragged by craving. Are you eating because you need to, or because you're chasing a feeling? Are you speaking from truth, or just trying to win? Are you spending from value, or from inner emptiness? Temperance is the power to do something and still choose not to, because you understand the cost. It's when praise doesn't inflate you, and criticism doesn't collapse you. How to practice it? Ask, do I truly need this, or am I just reacting to a fleeting emotion? Pause for 5 seconds before reacting. That pause can be the difference between impulse and wisdom. Justice, the highest and hardest virtue. Justice isn't just don't do bad things. It's the courage to live responsibly, ethically, and truthfully, even when it costs you. A Stoic doesn't live for ego. They live for order, for a world where everyone owns what they create. How to practice it? Do the right thing, even when no one's watching. Refuse to go along with what you know is wrong, even if everyone else does. And when these 4 virtues come together, you get what the ancient Romans called eudaimonia, the state of a soul living in harmony with reason and virtue. No more drifting, no more being pulled by praise, blame, or chaos. Just a mind that is steady, aware, and deeply free. And if this sounds too ideal to live out every day, remember, Stoicism doesn't ask you to be perfect at every moment. It only reminds you to return again and again to what truly matters. No one lives like a Stoic 247, but every time you choose clarity over reactivity, silence over noise, integrity over compromise, you are living the Stoic path. You don't need to read hundreds of pages. You don't need to memorize the names of ancient philosophers. You just need to remember and live by these core principles. And Stoicism will stop being theory on paper. It'll become the way you live your days. Focus only on what you can control. Your thoughts, your actions, your attitude. The rest, let it be. Let go of what you cannot change. Exhale. Release it. Don't carry yesterday's storm into today's peace. No one can hurt you unless you let them. Their words can't pierce you unless you open the door. Every hardship is training. Stoics don't run from pain. They treat it as a gym for the mind. You can't control others, only your response. They might say something wrong. You can choose not to respond. Luke, don't wish for life to be easier. Wish to be stronger. The world may not be gentle, but you can be. Separate emotion from interpretation. It's not the event that hurts. It's the story you attach to it. Don't postpone your growth. Don't wait for a better day. Don't wait for others to change first. Start with yourself now. Speak when it's right. Stay silent when it's wise. Not out of fear, not out of rebellion, but because you've seen what's truly worth your voice. Freedom isn't doing whatever you want. It's knowing what's right and having the strength to do it. Live by your values, not by your moods. Emotions come and go. Your values are the road beneath your feet through sun or storm. Praise and criticism don't define you. Say thank you and keep walking. steady as stone, quiet as water. Shisan, presence, is the antidote to anxiety. When you're truly here, the past can't pull you back, and the future can't shake you. Shisi, you don't need many relationships, just the right ones. True friendship is built on kindness, not convenience. On truth, not performance. Shiwu, practice humility daily. No one knows it all. No one is always right. Not even you. Shiliu, don't wait for happiness to arrive from the outside. Happiness isn't a reward. It's an attitude you bring to the walk. Shizi, amor fati, love your fate. Loving the beautiful, anyone can do that. Loving the painful, that's the mark of a mature soul. Shiba, no one is worth losing yourself for. Being loved is beautiful, but being yourself is essential. Shizyo, your mind is your last fortress. Guard it. Don't let the noise in. The news, the feeds, the drama. Arshu. Each day is a chance to be better than yesterday. Not to outdo others, but to become the version of yourself you know you can be. And if these 20 feel like too much to hold, start with just one. Am I reacting or choosing? Simple question. But if you live by it, repeat it, feel it, live it deeply each day. You won't need to remember all 20, because you'll already be living. Stoicism, at the root, there's a kind of peace. It doesn't come from deep sleep. It doesn't come from carefree days. It doesn't come from escaping the world. It comes right from the center of the storm, when you no longer try to control everything, when you stop needing approval from everyone, when you're no longer swayed by praise or blame, gain or loss, right or wrong. That's when peace stops coming from the outside and begins to rise from within. That's also when Stoicism becomes more than a philosophy, more than a coping tool. It becomes a way of being quiet, rooted, unshakable. You may be surrounded by deadlines. You may be grieving something no one else sees. You may be silently enduring a private storm, and still you can stand firm. You can breathe steady. You can keep walking. Because Stoicism doesn't teach you to avoid the storm. It teaches you how to pitch your tent inside it. You will face more disappointment. You will be misunderstood. You will see injustice. But you will also learn to step back before reacting. Observe emotion without being pulled under. Know your worth, even when no one else sees it. Stillness is not coldness. Stillness is passion under direction. It is energy. Held. It is fire. Mastered. Like a tiger. Sitting quietly. Powerful, not because it's loud, but because it doesn't need to roar. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "In the midst of chaos, keep stillness inside you." A simple sentence, but a compass for those living in a world too loud, too fast, too distracted. When the world races to be seen, the Stoic retreats into self-command. When the world argues over who's right, the Stoic chooses to be right without needing to prove it. Can you picture a still, crystal-clear lake? Even when shouts echo from the shore, even when wind rushes across the surface, its depth remains calm, not because there's no disturbance, but because it no longer reacts to everything that moves. That is the mark of a mind trained to stand its ground. Sometimes, peace doesn't mean no problems. It means problems no longer run your life. Sit down for a few minutes each day. No phone, no noisy, no task. Just be with yourself. Feel your heartbeat. Notice your breath. Watch your thoughts drift by like passing clouds. And you'll begin to see your mind is no longer a battlefield. It has become a sanctuary. And when the world remains as chaotic as ever, yet you can still sit, not flaying, not blaming, not panicking, that's when you'll know you've truly grown. You've just spent nearly 60 minutes here, not to learn something new, but to remember something you once knew, a simple truth, that somewhere along the way, in the rush of life, we forgot. No one can make you unshakable. Only you can learn to stand still in the storm. If you're still here, it means there's a seed inside you, a seed of awareness, a longing to live truthfully, a self that no longer wants to drift like a lost leaf on the wind. You didn't choose this because it was easy. You didn't come here to be comforted with false promises like, everything will be fine. You came for something more honest. How can I be fine even when things are not? And that is the path of the Stoic. Not glamorous, not loud, just a rocky road, walked barefoot, but every step is real. Before we part ways, take a few quiet seconds for a silent prayer. No words needed, just heart. May I be strong enough not to be pulled, soft enough not to harden, still enough to hear my inner voice, and patient enough to live each day as a mindful, grounded journey. You won't always be strong. There will be days of doubt. There will be moments you fall apart, and that's okay, because Stoicism never asked you to be invincible. It only asks that you don't lose yourself even when you lose. If you've made it this far, I don't need to know who you are. I only want to say one thing. I know you're on the path, and even if the road is uneven, you are not walking it alone. If one day you forget, come back to this video, or just return to your breath, because that is where Stoicism begins. With a small, quiet question, do I really need to let this control me? Live as if every action is a prayer, every silence a roar, and each day a fresh page to write the story of your inner freedom. If fate allows, we'll meet again on this path, in another video, or simply in that one moment when you truly return to yourself. LABE Stoic, where stillness becomes strength.